What's up guys? Today I'm going to show you how to install max speeding rods coilovers on an R56 Mini and cut the strut towers so that you can access the camber plates. Now you guys may remember that I've already installed max speeding rods coilovers on here, but recently I was driving the car and I smoked a big old pothole and I busted the front shock right here. So I'll show you guys that, but I reached out to max speeding rods. The coilovers at this point were over 2 years old, so out of warranty. And I asked them if I could buy some parts off of them, some replacement parts. They told me they did not have any replacement parts for this car in stock. The only thing that I could do is buy a whole new set, which I did not want to do. They were willing to cut me a deal because I've worked with them on this car originally and give me some money off of a brand new set, when really all I need is a new shock and some bushings. The rear bushings are blown out because I installed them improperly. So I'm going to show you guys how to completely reinstall them. I also bought a jig for cutting the strut towers from a company called Vorshlag. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm gonna show you guys how to use that as well to cut a hole in the strut tower. I also bought a fancy hole saw. I'm gonna link all of this stuff in the description. I think Max Speeding Rods is going to give me another discount code to give you guys. So I'll put that on the screen right now if you wanna buy yourself a set and get a little discount. And yeah, you guys might remember that when I installed them last time, I had some fitment issues with them. It looks like they've redesigned them at this point. So we're going to install them and see if they fit. Let's get to it. You'll have to excuse how dirty the car is. It's been being stored outside for the winter, and it's been single digits for the past week or so, week and a half. And I actually was trying to do this video like 2 weeks ago, and the car was completely frozen. I couldn't get into it. I also couldn't get into my white Civic to move that out of the way. So I was stuck until the temperature got a little higher. It's about 20 something degrees outside now. So I was able to get the car in here. We still got the ice melting off of it. So it's a little wet in here and we're just gonna have to work with it. So if we come over here, you can see I have the old max speeding rod coilovers in here, and you can't access the camber adjustment. So what we wanna do is we wanna be able to cut this. To get a perfect cut, I bought this jig, which you take the coilover out and you bolt it in from below, and then that gives you a centering point for your hole saw. So we're gonna give this a shot and see how it goes. So the first thing that we're gonna do is jack up the car and take the wheels off. All right, so I've got the car up off the ground and the wheels off, and as you can see, this is the side that I broke, and it's pretty nasty. It's all wet up there. This shock is like completely blown out. So I'm gonna spray this guy off and then start disassembling things. So to take the shock out, it's actually pretty easy. I'm gonna turn the wheel to see if I can get access to the top of this end link right here. There's an Allen that goes in the front to hold it from spinning. And then you can take this nut off with a wrench. Same thing with the bottom. I'm gonna go ahead and take the bottom off as well, because we're gonna be replacing that end link. The other thing that you have to do is release the brake lines, or the brake line and the ABS line from right here, just by popping it out. And then you just have one pinch bolt right there, holding the shock in, and 3 bolts up here, 3 nuts up here. So we're gonna go ahead and undo all of that, and then this shock will pull out. One thing that you're gonna wanna do if this isn't stuck in here, you're gonna wanna make sure that you kind of support this as you take that pinch bolt out, because otherwise this will just drop down super fast and you don't necessarily want that. So you can put a jack under here, or you can just hold it with your hand. It's not that heavy, just while you take that pinch bolt out. So the issue with my last set of coilovers was that this hook was too far up. So when you seated this bottom piece all the way down in the knuckle, this hole, this notch didn't line up with the bolt hole, so you actually had to notch out a little bit of the bottom of the hook there to get it to fit. I did reach out to Max Speeding Rods about this last time and gave them the dimensions. They sent me custom lowers, if you look at my previous video, and you can see that they were able to give me some that fit properly. But this is the new set, and we're gonna see if they actually fix the problem with their design. So no modification here. I'm gonna go ahead and set this in the knuckle all the way down, and we're gonna see if it fits. All right, so that is all the way in. Let's check the side and see if we can get the bolt through. And yeah, it looks like we're gonna be able to get it through. It looks like it's sticking up a little bit, but the last set that I had, they didn't fit at all. You really had to notch a big chunk of that hook out. So yeah, let's see if the bolt goes through. All right, so we got the original bolt right here. All right, we're gonna slide this guy through. I doubt it'll just go right through, but I wonder if we thread it, if it'll go in. And it's looking like it will. There we go. Heck yeah, Max Speeding Rods, you listen to me. That was literally my only gripe with these coilovers, so that's so cool that this is fixed now. Now I feel like I need to recommend these coilovers to everybody. So yeah, you guys should buy these. I'll put a link in the description. So anyway, let's move on to cutting. All right, so to cut these strut towers, what I'm gonna do is slide this jig in from underneath. Just like that. And it looks like you wanna slide it all the way forward to get it centered. And we're just gonna install these nuts. Okay, so this jig was a little bit expensive, in my opinion. It was almost $90 after shipping, but regardless, I'm going to put a link to it in the description so you guys can pick yourself up one. Also, this 3-inch hole saw I got on Amazon. I think it was like 18 bucks or something like that. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. But now that we got this guy installed and it's centered, we can go ahead and drill this hole. All right, now I'm just gonna hit it with some silver paint from the underside so that it doesn't rust. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and reinstall the coilovers. All right, so we got this guy installed now. The only thing I'm confused about is this looks like it's meant to hold the brake line, but I don't really trust putting a pure rubber brake line against metal like that. Like this has this little isolator, which makes me feel good about it. So I just always leave that undone. It doesn't rub on the wheel or anything like that. And then up here, you can see that we now have room to adjust the camber. We can maybe not get these bolts out all the way, but we can get an Allen key in there to loosen them so that you can slide this forward and back. One thing that I did notice that you're gonna wanna pay attention to is you just wanna make sure that you torque everything down. So the Allens were a little bit loose, so I tightened those, and then this guy is also loose, so you're just gonna wanna tighten that as well. It looks like you gotta hold it right there. So you're just gonna wanna double check that you set the preload properly, which I will explain at the end of this video. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side off camera, and then we'll move on to the back. All right, y'all, it's a new day. We're gonna work on the back. All right, so once you have the car up in the air and the wheel off, The backs are actually easier to replace than the front, really. So all you have are 3 bolts holding this thing in. There is one right there. Same thing on the other side right there. And then one down here on the back right here. And that's really it. You do have a clip holding these brake lines in, so you just pop them out. Like in the front, I might need 2 hands to actually get these. This is the ABS sensor and the brake line. Just go ahead and pop those out of there and then remove those 3 bolts and this thing will come out. All right, so we got this thing out. That was pretty easy, took about 5 minutes. There actually is no issue with this whole shock itself. It's actually still in pretty good shape. It's a little rusty because I live in Michigan, but it was definitely working just fine. The only issue with this thing is that this bushing split pretty bad down here. Not a huge deal if you can get your hands on another bushing, but I don't know if you can. I mean, I could definitely like 3D print a new one, but who knows how long a 3D printed bushing would last. Yeah, is this the same as the OEM bushing? If you know, please answer in the comments. That way we know if we can replace this or if we have to reach out to Max Speeding Rods to get a replacement. But either way, I'm replacing the whole shock just because I have new ones. So I'm going to save this as a spare in case I need one down the road. Now the next thing that we have to do is just remove this strut mount because these retain the factory strut mount in the rear. So we gotta pull this thing off. Really all you have to do is just undo this nut. I'm gonna try it with the impact gun. If the whole shock is spinning, you do have to hold it in place, so you can use a wrench on this nut and another wrench or vice grips or something up here at the top to hold it from spinning. I'm gonna go ahead and take this thing off and put it on the other one. When you're taking the strut mount off of your old strut to put on the new strut, make sure that if you're using like OEM struts or anything with a lot of spring pressure, that you use spring compressors. If you have coilovers like this and there's not a lot of pressure on the spring, then it's fine, you can just take the top off. But if you have a lot of pressure on that spring, when you go to take that nut off the top hat could fly off and actually hit you in the face. I don't think it would kill you, but it'd probably break your nose and mess you up pretty bad. So just be really safe when working with that stuff and use spring compressors if you're taking the top hats off OEM suspension. All right, we got the top hat on here, and now we just gotta throw this guy back in. And then once we get it in the car, I have these things right here that go on the bottom. There's just a little Allen wrench to tighten it. And what that is just this guy. It's the clip for the brake lines. So we'll go ahead and install that. Okay, so we have that guy in, but the lower bolt is not torqued yet. There is a trick to that. And one thing that I forgot to tell you guys is that before you put the shock in, you wanna set the damping on the shock because once you get it in the car, you can't access it. So I went ahead and I set mine before I put it in there. And now the final step to getting this thing bolted in is that we want to put pressure on the bottom of this with the jack to get this to sit at ride height when we torque down that lower bolt. That way the bushing isn't tweaked at ride height in there and it won't rip like this one did. I mean, maybe it will still, but I guess we'll find out over time. Looking at stuff online, it does kind of look like that might be the OEM bushing, so you might be able to replace it pretty easily. But anyway, yeah, let me show you exactly how I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Hey, future me here. Make sure you actually only torque the lower strut bolt to 80 or 90 foot-pounds because the 121 foot-pounds, that is the factory spec, is upon original assembly. They use a self-tapping bolt and an aluminum trailing arm. So if you try to torque it to 121 foot-pounds, chances are you're going to do what I did and strip out the aluminum trailing arm. So I could still put this car together and put it on the ground and see where the height is, but I can't drive this car now until I fix that. So stay tuned for the next video where I show you how to helicoil your stripped aluminum trailing arm. Great. All right, let's get back to the install. All right, I got both rears done. Let's go ahead and lower the car down and see what it looks like. Made it worse. All right, so that's how it's sitting in the back. The front, you can't really see too well because I don't have the hood closed, but I'm not gonna close that right now. It's maybe a tiny bit higher than it was, but you can see in this one, I took out one of the collars and had it max low. So I might do that with these ones. We'll see. I'm gonna leave them for now. But yeah, it looks pretty good. So Max Speeding Rods definitely stepped up their quality control with this new set. I didn't have a single issue installing them. So next would be to review these coilovers, but I've already done this in my previous video. If you want to see a full review of these, as well as a more detailed install and how to set them up and set preload and things like that, click on this video right here and take a look at that. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and peace out.